Hi, everybody. Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Wings channel. I'm going to take a look today at the astrological weather report for the week of August 5th through 11th. Not a real lot going on this week. Mercury has started its retrograde journey, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit for sure. And it's conjuncting Venus a second time during that journey. The sun also is sextiling Jupiter this week, but there's a couple funny little quincunxes too. So it's going to be a week where it's going to fit right into that Mercury retrograde energy, where I think there'll be a lot of things slowing down and a lot of adjustments and stuff like that in our reality is having to be made. So first, a little business. The Astrological Winds channel is a video blog, a free video blog that I've been doing on YouTube actually for several years now. Prior to that, it was just a audio blog and even a written blog before that. So if you're a YouTube, if you've got a YouTube account and you like what you see, I'd really like you to become a follower. And when you do become a follower, if you choose to do that, remember to turn your notifications on, and that will let you know when I post the blog. And sometimes I post other blogs too, so you'll know. And because it was on podcasts before the YouTube channel, it is still available that way. And I actually think, podcasts can be more freeing. You're not stuck on the video, although I'm starting to add some video stuff like back here where I had the Mercury retrograde period shown here. But so there is some stuff you can see there, but it does free you up to listen to the blog in other ways, like say you're at the gym or whatever, you get to put on your ear pods and, you can listen to the blog that way. And remember, the Astrological Winds channel also has a Instagram page. So I post the link there too. And sometimes during the week, I'll post some comments in just not video or audio, just commentary form on certain days where I think the astrological weather might be hitting a really big peak or something. So that's always cool to check out. And I do put it on my private Facebook account every week. It's Matthew with two T's, Lawton, Lauten, if you want to friend me there, and it will show up on your newsreel. And then the other thing is, it's always on my website, www.astrologicalwinds.com, has the blogs embedded on the blog page, and you can go back several weeks at least, a couple months, kind of look back at some of the stuff that you may have missed, and if you need to refer back to it. So that's all there. I also have a calendar page that I update every week on the blog that tells you the certain Earth calendar days that we're having. So that's always kind of cool to check out. And that's where my contact is for people who are interested in my professional services. The menu is there, the pricing is there. If the pricing is tough for you, don't, it doesn't hurt to contact me anyway. I can maybe work with you. Also, I'm offering professional services to people who are really needing like an executive assistant as an astrologer, basically on like either a monthly or weekly or daily basis. So, people who can afford that, talk to me. It's also beginners classes. If you have a group that's interested in lectures or classes, things like that, all that information is on the website. So really appreciate that. The blog is free. And what I do ask every week, and you probably know this, is that you pass the link on to somebody else when you're done. I'd really appreciate that. And if you'd like to give a donation, right now I'm doing a raffle. Every $5 that you give towards the blog enters you in a raffle to get a free reading at the end of this summer quarter. So like you can use my Cash App, which is the just $ Matthew Lawton, all one word, two T's, and don't forget to capitalize M and L, or you can use my Venmo, which is right here at Matthew-Lawton. Same thing, capital, two T's, don't forget to do that. So yeah, so like, if you want to try to get a chance on a free reading and support the blog. It actually cost me a little money to put the blog out, but I still would put it out even if no one gave a donation. But really those are great two ways to support the blog and support me as a professional astrologer, as I've been doing readings for over 20 years. and was trained professionally for 7 years how to do that, and have a lot of counseling skills. Would love to work with you. Would really love to work with you when you're ready for that. Okay, let's get into this. Not a lot going on this week, so I wanted to just go back because there was a lot last week, especially on Sunday. If you remember yesterday, Sunday, we had not only had the new moon at 13 degrees Leo, but we also had Venus changing signs and Mercury went retrograde, right? So a lot of stuff got packed into Sundays last week. And I just wanted to mention, a little bit more about the Mercury retrograde. The second one of the year. So there's 3 every year, right? And mainly this year it's been in fire signs. It's going to be fire signs. The first one was in Aries. The next one is going to be in Sagittarius. This one, Mercury got into Virgo and it turned around at 4 degrees Virgo on the 4th. That's where it started, August 4th, 4 degrees, right? And so like I said last week a little bit, to me, you guys, most of you know what Mercury retrograde's about. It's, delays, miscommunications, misunderstandings, things not working out the way you expect, kind of a lot of frustrating energy, especially in the real world, especially in the things that Mercury rules, which is mainly communication and information and travel, education, things like that. So those are the things where we really kind of take a step back. And it is a natural processing time. If we're always Mercury's the intellect, obviously those things that, Mercury rules all have to do with the mind and then communicating what the mind is thinking. So when you think about our world and how much we input into our minds every day, really, this is like a natural break. This is like a step back for us to look at the last 3 months and all the information we've inputted in the last 3 months and really, start to integrate it, and in order to stop us from just inputting more, we get this natural period, this retrograde period, which really doesn't exist astronomically. It only exists from our perspective on Earth, geodetically, that Mercury is even going retrograde. It doesn't actually turn around and orbit in space. It's only from the way we see it in Earth. So it's like it has to do with us and our perspective on things, right? So it's a time where we have to, it's like taking a nap for the mind, It's like taking a nap for the mind so that it can integrate, so that it can file all that information that's been coming in the last 3 months. So the normal mind, where our ego sits, can feel like that's really frustrating. I'm not getting to do the things I normally do. And when I try to do that, you're working against the energy. So then you get all those things, the miscommunications and all that stuff. And like I said last week, I think, the sign is showing where the situations that cause those miscommunications, delays, and all that Mercury retro stuff it came from. And that is most likely not taking care of certain details on all that information we had coming in the last 3 months. So now all of a sudden, those details are tripping up. Or another thing with Mercury and Virgo is showing that we don't have the skills and techniques yet that we need to make that stuff go forward. So, I mean, it's like really one of those things where it's a perfect time to integrate and get those skills, work on those techniques for these 3 weeks. It's a natural slow down period. If you try to push forward, you're like the fish trying to push upstream when the water's coming down really hard in torrents, and you're not going to make a lot of progress. You get stuck in little side eddies and stuff and not able to do that. So it's a time when you can do that. And remember too, when Mercury's in Virgo, the communication part, I can guarantee you a lot of it's going to shut down because of people being too critical and judgmental of one another. That will shut down communications really quick. Once again, bring that inside. Be self-critical during Mercury retrograde. That is what you want to do. Make the corrections that you need to make. Gain the skills that you need to gain. Stop trying to push the world and others through, criticism and judgment and not being ready with the details and skills you need to take on the job you're trying to take on. And, and then as this period goes on, and I'll talk about this next week, on the 16th, that's when Mercury will slide back into Leo. Remember, it was in Leo, so it's going to go back into Leo on the 16th. And that's when we'll get a little bit of a shift in how the Mercury retrograde will play out. And I'll talk about that next week. And then by the 27th, it'll go direct at 21 degrees of Leo. So that's where it's going to turn around and start going forward again. And then by September 10th, it will go back into Virgo finally again after being almost what is that, 3 weeks there that it's in Leo again. And then on 2 days later, it will finally hit the point where it went retrograde at 4 degrees Virgo. So that will be when the shadow period is finally over and everything should be moving normal again. So that is going to be our Mercury retrograde cycle this time around, you guys. So, keep an eye on that. So there's something else going on too that, this week. I said there's a couple tricky little quincunxes. So today, Venus is quincunx Pluto. Remember, Venus just going into Virgo yesterday, Pluto retrograde right at 1 degree of Aquarius. So as soon as any planet goes into another sign, it's hitting Pluto by some kind of aspect, unless it's one of the signs that are right next to it. And this can be a very, very difficult day for relationships. With certain people, it can really make you feel like they're blocking or restricting your freedom, your ambition, the things you want to do. And it makes just feel like circumstances and others are almost purposely doing this to you, and feeling like you have to try to do something about the situation. So the problem is that can get you into power struggles with others. What we kind of really need to realize is if we're drawing difficult people and difficult situations into our lives, and they're reaching an apex point, today or next day or two, while this Venus quincunx Pluto is very tight, it's showing that they're actually reflecting back to us some of the needs that we have. And so we need to kind of take that in a little bit, because otherwise what we're going to try to do is get really like controlling with others, get into power struggles, quite possibly with people who have more power than us. And it can be a very, very frustrating thing, So we have to be really, really careful about the way we operate with this energy. The tendency is to get very possessive of others and try to dictate to them what they want to do. And this can also, guys, get us very obsessive about where our money and assets and investments are going. I saw last week that the stock market had a big drop on the one day at least. And, that's the kind of thing where, with a Venus quincunx Pluto, you can get very upset, get very rabbit holed and obsessive about your money, and just kind of like black out everything else that's going on. It also can give like a very intense expression of artistic creativity too. If you're an artist, something may come out that's like a really intense expression of that, So very interesting energy there. And then Wednesday is the day I actually think is the most positive day as far as the way we judge things. Remember, astrology never judges it. We're the ones judging it. That's the day the sun is sextiling Jupiter. However, the sun is also sesquiquadrate Neptune that day. And, what's the one thing that those two have in common? The main thing that Jupiter and Neptune have in common is like basically value systems and spirituality, religion, like an interest in that thing. So on that level, there's this very congruent energy with the two of these. And the sun sextile Jupiter is no doubt a stronger energy signature than the sun sesquiquadrate Neptune. That aspect is a stronger aspect than a sesquiquadrate. The sesquiquadrates, yeah. So So the sun Jupiter is definitely going to be the one we feel more, and that's a very positive aspect. That's having a really optimistic attitude about life. It's about wanting to take in more in, wanting to broaden our perspectives, wanting to experience more, gets us more tolerant of others, and very, creating a positive energy loop by having that kind of attitude. So, like, we can get opportunities from others that way. We have good relationships with those in authority, and they may help us out. And it really does broaden our perspective on things too. We're willing to take more in from sources that maybe other times we wouldn't be as open to. So, like, getting information from other things. And so, like, really being, and then spreading that vibe, like I said too, being very generous, being very positive, being very giving, and just really adjusting our values and the way we look at life and things based on that. So it's a real positive energy there. Now, the problem with the Neptune part is we may get overly idealistic again and may find that right now our values are still not completely in congruence with reality. But it's still okay to keep working on it. There's still a lot of positive energy in this loop that we can work with this energy on. And I think that, it's like, it does that by just broadening that perspective. Now, there's not going to be a lot of physical energy available that this day. This is more, kind of chill out and relax energy. But it is, like I said, very positive on a lot of that. And it's just, once again, waiting for the time for things to line up more so that the ideals and opportunities do get congruent with the timing of things. So also that day, the Mercury journey continues, retrograde journey continues when it conjuncts Venus in Virgo. So that's on, that is actually on, what was that, Wednesday too? Yes, so that's Wednesday also, which is the 6th. So we can even draw that in here. So August 6th is where the conjunction to Venus is, second time in Virgo this time. And so normally when Mercury and Venus get together, we get really social and we can get really open up and really articulate our feelings well, express well, get very inspired inside our mind, see bigger patterns and things. And all that energy is still available, but we in Mercury retrograde, right? And not only are we in Mercury retrograde, but Venus is in Virgo, where she's more shy and quieter and everything. So I think what we want to do with this conjunction is really use that energy to take it back in, to take, like, we are able to see a lot of underlying patterns and meanings when these two get together, and Virgo's going to give it like a magnifying glass, right? So we can really take that energy in and integrate it within ourselves first. It may be difficult to articulate to others right now because of the retrograde, and we may even feel like a little bit shy because it may be like some new information that we might not completely feel like well-rounded and confident in. Remember that Mercury retro in Virgo is saying, yeah, we might not have all the skill yet. So it's good to take this in, the things that we're seeing, these bigger patterns, and instead of like really projecting them out, and kind of get in touch with our own feelings about them, see if we can identify what those are inside ourselves, right? And work with that energy on that level. And I think too, we can really, also get a lot of inspiration, a lot of imagination, especially on artistic levels, if we use words and stuff. And once again, bring that in, bring it in and work on those things yourself rather than projecting them out into the world yet. Now, one of the things that's really interesting about Wednesday, too, and I talked about it last week in the monthly, it's also the day that Jupiter is sesquiquadrate Pluto. And remember, I said that's going to go all month. And that is very plays right in not only with the Mercury retrograde, but even with the Venus quincunx Pluto, because it's really about, once again, feeling our ambitions, our goals in life are stuck right now. And like seeing how people in power, authority, like the power and structure of society are the things that are holding us back. So you can see how all those energies together is like really putting the brakes on our normal world this week and this month, even, and slowing us down and forcing us to go back within and really like integrate what we're seeing, kind of like discern the patterns that we're seeing, and then start to make a new detailed plan with all this Virgo energy inside first, making the corrections inside first, getting the skills we need inside first before we can move forward. So it's interesting too, because the last aspect of the week that I want to talk about is on Friday, when the sun is quincunx Saturn. And that's just another continuation of that same energy. It's literally feeling like, reality and authorities are just blocking us from what we really want to do, and that we can't really express ourselves, and we can't get the freedom and independence of anything we're trying to do right now, and that we're constantly having to make adjustments to like new rules, regulations, restrictions, authorities. So it really feels like it's so hard for us to have any kind of freedom, and that we constantly are having to discipline ourselves and structure ourselves based on what's going on right in front of us. And I tell people, just remember, this is just a passing phase. Even this whole month of Mercury retrograde and this frustrating energy, it's meant for us to come back in. It's meant for us to take a look. It's meant for us to discern the patterns. It's meant for us to be real. Like, I hear a lot of people not being real right now out there. We have political situations in the United States, and there's some very intelligent people on both sides of that spectrum. And the second their party or candidate starts talking, they stop being real. You guys have to discern, even within what your belief systems are, who is being real, like whether you're being real with yourself. They're not going to be real with you if you're not being real with yourself. And I know how intelligent people are. So I know that people are seeing that what they're being told, even by the people that they're supporting, there's not a lot of truth being told. And this is a time to start being real with yourself first. Bring it in. Then all those quincunxes, make adjustments. Because right now the energy's stuck, the sesquiquadrates. And we're creating that reality together. And we have the power to change that. And this is a time period this month where we can really look at ourselves and integrate what we've learned, the patterns that we see, and start to discern what the truth is and hold people accountable. People who even are on your side, who all of a sudden, when they're getting fuzzy and you're feeling that, it doesn't mean you have to disown them, but you need to be real with yourself, or you're not going to be able to be real with them. And your relationships are damaged, and, the structure of society starts to, get to a point where we're at today, where everyone seems to be at odds with one another. So we can really use this energy this week to bring it in, to integrate. And then the quincunxes say, make adjustments, let go, release. Release old ideas. Release things that are holding you back. Release people that are holding you back. Release situations that are holding you back. Release emotional stuff that's holding you back. Release old patterns that you've learned, that we've all learned together, that are holding us back. This is not going to be the easiest week. The sun is sextile Jupiter, so there are opportunities for those who live to their values, who have identified what their values are. And even if the real world isn't cooperating with them, stick to that, knowing that that's what their job is here. Then we create opportunities. Then we create our own good luck loop. Then we create benefits. Then we find other people. Then we broaden our perspective. Then the energy starts to shift. Mercury goes direct. Other things start to shift. Remember, in astrology, it teaches us all the time. There's one constant. The energy is always shifting and changing. It's never the way it always is. And we have to realize that there's never a time where we get so low that you think this is going to be the way it always is. No, it's going to be different tomorrow when the moon changes signs or makes another aspect. It is. So this is a time for a lot of self-reflection this month during this Mercury retrograde. We got to up our games. Can't sit there and be judgmental of other people and not up our games. Stop projecting all of our issues on each other. Be real with ourselves, discern the truth, look at the patterns, make the adjustments. That's what it's being called to do this week. We can look at that as being very hard. You want to put that judgment on it, that's what it'll be. But we can also look at it as a new adventure that's going to bring new opportunities, new growth. And bringing together things, unification energy, Sun, Jupiter, Neptune, Mercury, conjunct Venus, all unification energy. But we have to be real with ourselves first. We have to unify the energy within ourselves, our emotions and our mind, our left and right brain, right? Once we get that down, then we start having better relationships. Then we get to be seen and heard better. Then we're more effective. Then life's more fulfilling. Hey, that's it for this week. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. If you'd like to get a reading from me, I'd love to help you out on stuff like I was just talking about. I've been doing it for over 20 years. See my website. Get serious. It's serious times. Okay, this is a free video blog. I'd love for you to pass it on right now if you can't do anything else. If you can support the blog also by giving a donation to Venmo, I'd appreciate that, and I'll put you in the raffle. Remember, it's available on podcast too. Remember to spread the word around. Remember to identify your ideals and follow them and support one another. This is the birth of a new age. This is the age of Aquarius, and births are not easy, you guys. Let's do this, right? Let's do it together. We're all working together here. We're all supporting one another. That's what Aquarius is about. So yeah, please pass the blog along. Remember, it's also on Instagram. Remember, it's also on Facebook. And remember, if you're passing it on to people who don't know astrology well, just remind them, you want to listen to the interpretations. For you guys who know it well, I love doing stuff like this on the board for you. I'm sorry that sound quality pays a little bit of a price for me being able to do that. But I will see you guys all next week. And then what do we got going on next week? I didn't even look at what we got going on next week yet. So it'll be like full of surprises, I guess. I know we're going to have the internal, the second hit of the Sun Mercury conjunction, the inferior conjunction. So that'll be like the middle of the Mercury retrograde period. And of course, Mercury will slide back into Leo next week too. So definitely we'll be talking about that again. I don't think we quite get the full moon next week yet. I think that's the week after. So we'll be looking for that full moon in Aquarius, but not next week yet. Not quite yet. All right. I'll see y'all next week. Thanks so much for your support. Appreciate every one of you. Please pass the link along. I'll see y'all next week.